businessman leaves for work and returns to find orphaned triplets sleeping in his bed. Michael Reynolds arrived home exhausted after closing the most important deal of his career. His footsteps echoed through the silent hallway of his penthouse in the Upper East Side, and all he wanted was a hot shower and some rest. When he opened the bedroom door, his heart raced. 3 identical children were sound asleep in his king-size bed, clinging to each other as if they were one body. Their dark curly hair contrasted with the white sheets, and their worn-out clothes hinted at days without proper care. "Mrs. Maria!" he shouted, unable to tear his eyes away from the little sleeping faces. The housekeeper appeared at the door, her hands trembling and eyes red from crying. "Dr. Michael, I can explain. How did these children get into my house?" His voice came out louder than intended, making one of the boys stir in his sleep. "They were collapsing from hunger on the sidewalk, doctor. 3 little angels who can't be more than 7 years old. I couldn't let them freeze to death out there." Michael ran a hand through his hair, trying to process the situation. He recognized those faces. That morning, on his way to the office, he had seen 3 children begging for food outside the commercial building where his consulting firm was located. "Did the doorman let them in?" "I went down and brought them up, doctor. I told them they were my nephews visiting from the countryside." He approached the bed slowly. The triplets were breathing heavily, and their foreheads felt too warm. He gently touched the nearest boy's forehead and felt the high fever. "They're sick, Maria. We need to call a doctor. I already called Dr. Robert. He's on his way." Michael sat in the armchair beside the bed, watching those vulnerable children. Something about their faces felt familiar, but he couldn't place it. The doctor arrived in 15 minutes, and his diagnosis was straightforward: severe malnutrition, dehydration, and fever caused by their weakened state. "These children need urgent care, Michael. How long have they been like this?" "I don't know, Dr. Robert. I only found them today." "Well, judging by their condition, I'd say they haven't had proper food for at least a week. I'll prescribe medication and a special diet. If they don't improve by tomorrow, we'll have to admit them." All night, Michael took turns with Maria caring for the triplets. They gave medicine, checked temperatures, and tried to get them to drink water and broth. Around 3 in the morning, as he adjusted the blanket over them, he found a crumpled letter in one of the boy's pants pockets. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story." With trembling hands, he unfolded the yellowed paper. The delicate feminine handwriting made his world collapse. "My love, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. Our children need you. I know your mother sent me away and told me never to contact you again, but I can no longer protect the boys alone. They're yours, Michael. Ethan, Noah, and Jacob were born 7 months after we separated. Please, take care of them, like we always dreamed." The letter was signed by Jennifer, his ex-fiancée from 7 years ago, the woman he had loved more than life itself, who had vanished after an argument with his mother. Michael sank into the armchair, the letter shaking in his hands. He looked at the 3 sleeping boys and now saw it clearly. They had his eyes, the shape of his nose, the same stubborn chin he'd inherited from his father. "Maria, I need your help. Tomorrow, we're getting paternity tests." "Doctor, are these boys your sons?" "I believe so. And if it's true, my mother has a lot of explaining to do." The tests confirmed what Michael had always known in his heart. Ethan, Noah, and Jacob were his sons. Mrs. Elizabeth Reynolds, his mother, arrived at the penthouse the following afternoon, expecting to find only her son, but instead came face to face with the 3 grandsons she had denied for years. "Michael, what is the meaning of this?" "It means you lied to me for 7 years, Mother. Jennifer was pregnant when you forced her out of our lives." The 62-year-old woman leaned against the wall, her face turning pale. "I only wanted to protect you. That girl wasn't from our social class. She couldn't give you the future you deserved. And because of that, you kept me from knowing my own children, from being there when they were born." The triplets woke up at that moment, still weak but alert. Ethan, the bravest of the 3, climbed out of bed and walked toward Michael. "Are you our daddy? Mommy always said we'd find you one day." Michael knelt down, meeting the boys at eye level. "Yes, I'm your father, and you are the bravest boys I've ever known." Noah and Jacob joined their brother, and for the first time in 7 years, Michael felt his life had true meaning. "Where is your mom?" he asked, trying to steady his voice. "She got sick and had to go to the hospital. Aunt Margaret took care of us, but then she disappeared, and the place we lived got shut down," Ethan explained. "You ran away. We had your address. Mommy always told us where you lived. We walked a long way to get here." Elizabeth watched the scene with tears in her eyes, finally understanding the weight of what she had done. "Michael, I didn't know she was pregnant with triplets." Would that have changed anything? His mother didn't answer, but her silence spoke volumes. Victoria Parker, Michael's fiancée of 2 years, arrived at the penthouse late that afternoon. She was the daughter of one of the biggest investors in his company, and their relationship had been more strategic than romantic from the start. "Michael, darling, why didn't you answer my calls? And who are these children?" "Victoria, we need to talk. These are my sons." The 35-year-old woman, always flawless in her designer suits, nearly dropped her purse. "What do you mean, your sons? You never told me you had children." "Because I didn't know. I just found out." "This is ridiculous, Michael. You can't just show up with 3 kids and claim they're yours." The paternity tests confirmed it. Victoria looked at the triplets with an expression mixing disgust and disdain. "And what do you plan to do? Send them to a decent orphanage?" "I'm going to raise them. They're my children." "Oh no. This wasn't part of our plans, Michael. My father invested millions in your company, counting on our union. I won't accept being a stepmother to 3 brats." Ethan hid behind Michael's legs, frightened by the woman's harsh tone. "In that case, maybe we should rethink our plans, Victoria. You're choosing these children over me. I'm choosing my sons." Victoria stormed out, slamming the door, but Michael knew this wouldn't be the last conversation about it. In the following days, Michael devoted himself entirely to the triplets. He bought them clothes, toys, hired a nutritionist, and a private pediatrician. But one question haunted him. Where was Jennifer? His assistant, Nancy, a 50-year-old woman who had worked with him for a decade, offered to investigate. "Dr. Michael, I found records of a Jennifer Miller Wilson admitted to Mercy General Hospital 3 months ago. She's in the intensive care unit." Michael's heart stopped. "Intensive care? Apparently she has a serious illness, doctor. The physicians are guarded about her prognosis." Michael left the boys with Maria and rushed to the hospital. He found Jennifer unrecognizable in the ICU bed, too thin, pale, with tubes and machines connected to her body. But when she opened her eyes and saw him, a faint smile lit up her face. "Michael, you found them. Why didn't you reach out sooner, Jen? Why did you suffer alone all these years?" "I tried. I called your house dozens of times, but your mother always said you didn't want to talk to me. I sent letters that came back. Your mother told me you'd moved and didn't want contact anymore." Michael held her hand, guilt crushing him. "I never knew. If I had..." "I know. You've always been a good man. That's why I always told the boys they'd meet their father one day. You're going to get better. The boys need you." Jennifer squeezed his hand with what little strength she had. "Michael, promise me you'll take care of them, that you'll love them." "I promise. But you'll be there too." The doctors had been clear. Jennifer was in critical condition, but there was a chance of recovery with the right treatment. The problem was the cost, over $200,000 a month. "Dr. Reynolds, with her insurance, we can only cover part of the treatment. The rest, I'll cover all costs. Do whatever's necessary." When Michael returned home, he found the triplets crying in Maria's arms. "They're afraid you won't come back, doctor. They said everyone always leaves them." Michael knelt before the 3 boys. "Listen carefully. I'm your father, and fathers never abandon their children. You can be sure of that." "But what if we do something wrong?" asked Jacob, the shyest. "There's nothing you could do that would make me stop loving you. Not even if we break something. Not even if you break everything. Not even if we wet the bed. Not even if you wet the bed every day." The three laughed for the first time since they'd arrived, and Michael felt his heart fill with a joy he'd never known. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. But the peace didn't last long. The following Monday, Michael arrived at the office and found Victoria waiting with her father, Richard Parker, and a lawyer. "Michael, we need to talk about the future of the company," said Richard, a heavy-set man in his 60s known for his cold business demeanor. "Of course, Richard. What can I do for you? I heard you're taking care of some children. That could distract you from the business. They're my sons and it doesn't interfere with my work." "Dr. Reynolds," the lawyer interrupted, "my client is concerned about the company's stability. He invested $15 million based on your partnership with Miss Parker." "And that partnership still stands?" "Not anymore," Victoria declared. "I'm ending our engagement. I won't be a stepmother to children who appeared out of nowhere." "In that case," Richard continued, "I need to reconsider my investment. I can't tie my company to someone who makes impulsive decisions. Taking care of my children isn't impulsive, it's responsibility." "Dr. Reynolds," the lawyer said, "my client demands full repayment of the investment within 30 days, or he'll take legal action." Michael knew he didn't have $15 million in cash. The money had been invested in expanding the company, new contracts, and equipment. "I need more time." 30 days, Michael. Not a day more," Richard said before leaving. Alone in his office, Michael felt the weight of his decision. He was about to lose everything he'd built in 15 years of work. Nancy walked in with a stack of papers. "Dr. Michael, after reviewing the accounts, even if we sell all the equipment and terminate contracts, we'd still be short $8 million. What if I sell my shares in the company? It still wouldn't be enough." That night, Michael came home devastated. The triplets ran to hug him as they had every day for the past week, but he could barely return the affection. "Daddy, are you sad?" asked Noah. "I'm just a little worried about work, son." "Can we help?" offered Ethan. "You already help me just by being here." During dinner, the boys talked about their day with Maria, their new toys, and how excited they were to see their mother at the hospital. "Daddy, when Mommy leaves the hospital, will we all live together?" asked Jacob. "Of course, we'll be a real family." But Michael didn't know how to keep that promise if he lost everything. In the early hours, Ethan appeared at Michael's bedroom door. "Daddy, I can't sleep." "Come here, son." The boy lay down beside him. "Daddy, you won't send us away, will you? Why would you think that? Noah dreamed that you got mad at us and sent us back to the streets." Michael held his son tightly. "Ethan, look at me. No matter what happens, you'll always be my children. You'll always have a home with me. Even if you run out of money." The innocent question struck at the heart of Michael's fears. "Even if I run out of money?" "Then it's okay. We don't need much. Just you and Mommy." In the following days, Michael's situation grew worse. The company's partners learned about Richard's demands and began questioning Michael's leadership. "Reynolds, I can't let your personal issues jeopardize our investments," said William Thompson, a minority partner. "This company has always been prosperous. A temporary crisis doesn't define our ability." "Temporary? You're about to lose $15 million in 2 weeks, and you call that temporary?" The meeting ended with the partners demanding an emergency assembly to discuss Michael's position as company president. At the hospital, Jennifer showed signs of improvement, but was still too weak to leave the ICU. "How are the boys?" she asked. "Strong, brave, just like their mother." "Michael, did something happen? You seem different." He didn't want to worry her, but Jennifer always saw through him. "Just work stuff. Nothing I can't handle." "Tell me the truth." Michael sighed and explained the situation with Richard, the company, and the deadlines. "My God, because of us, you'll lose everything. None of this is your fault. These were my choices." "Michael, if you have to, you can place the boys with a foster family temporarily, just until you sort things out." "Never. They're my sons, and they'll stay with me." "But if you lose everything, then we'll lose it together, but as a family." Jennifer began to cry, and Michael held her hand. "Jen, Do you know anyone from your mother's side who might have information about the contact attempts you made? My Aunt Margaret, my mother's sister. She always knew everything, but I lost touch when I got sick. Nancy can find her. What good will that do now? Maybe to prove my mother knew far more than she admitted. 2 days later, Nancy located Margaret Miller, a 68-year-old woman living in Brooklyn. Dr. Michael, Mrs. Margaret confirmed everything. She kept all the letters Jennifer sent you over the years. There were over 50 returned letters. Returned? Your mother hired a mailing service to intercept and return every letter. Mrs. Margaret has the receipts. And the calls. Jennifer called from her aunt's house. Your mother always answered and said you had moved away, gotten married, that you wanted nothing more to do with her. Michael felt a rage he had never known before. His mother had orchestrated everything to keep him away from Jennifer and the children. That afternoon, he confronted Elizabeth at her home in Westchester County. Mom, you lied to me for 7 years. Michael, I only wanted what was best for you. What was best for me was knowing my children, being with the woman I loved. That girl would have dragged you down. You have a successful business, money, social standing. And now, I'm about to lose all of it because of your lies. What do you mean? Michael told her about the situation with Richard and Victoria. Son, if you separate from the children temporarily, you could win Victoria back and save the company. Do you still not understand? I'd rather lose everything than lose my children. You're being irrational. I'm being a father. Elizabeth stood up from her chair, irritated. Fine. If that's what you want, deal with the consequences alone. That's exactly what I've done for the past 7 years, Mom. I dealt alone with the pain of losing Jennifer because you made me believe she had abandoned me. Michael left his mother's house determined to face any consequences to keep his family together. The following week, Noah developed severe pneumonia, which sent him straight to the hospital. Michael was desperate seeing his little boy hooked up to machines, struggling to breathe. Dr. Reynolds, we need surgery to drain his lung. The procedure costs $50,000, the pediatrician explained. Do whatever is necessary. Maria was crying in the hallway when Michael stepped out of the room. What if something happens to Noah? The other two won't be able to handle it. Nothing will happen. He's strong. But inside, Michael was terrified. How would he explain it to Ethan and Jacob if they lost their brother? How would he tell Jennifer? The surgery lasted 4 hours. Michael paced back and forth in the hallway, praying to every saint he could remember. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. When the surgeon came out, Michael rushed to meet him. Doctor, how's my son? The surgery was a success. Noah will be fine, but he'll need a few days in the hospital for observation. Michael nearly collapsed in relief. He called Maria to give the good news to Ethan and Jacob, then went up to the ICU to tell Jennifer. Thank God, she said, crying. I couldn't bear losing any of them. You won't lose anyone. We'll get through this together. That night, Ethan and Jacob insisted on sleeping at the hospital to stay close to their brother. Michael improvised beds in Noah's private room and stayed up all night watching over his 3 children. The next morning, he received an unexpected call from William Thompson. Reynolds, the company employees are furious about the meeting to remove you. What do you mean? They found out about your children and organized. They said you're the best boss they've ever had and won't accept your removal. Is this real? Nancy told a few people, and the story spread. The employees are threatening to strike if you're forced out. Michael was moved by his team's loyalty. And Richard? Does he still demand the money? Yes, but now we have leverage to negotiate. The employees offered to work without pay for 3 months to help the company recover. I can't accept that. Reynolds, you've always taken care of us. Now it's our turn to take care of you. When he hung up, Michael felt an emotion he couldn't put into words. In the midst of the crisis, he discovered there were people willing to fight for him. Noah recovered quickly from surgery and was discharged in 5 days. Back at home, the triplets were closer than ever, and Michael noticed how the scare had strengthened the bonds between them. Daddy, when Noah got sick, I was really scared. Ethan confessed. I promised I'd be the best brother in the world if he got better. And you've always been the best brother, Ethan. Now we know what family really means. When one gets sick, everyone takes care, said Jacob, with the wisdom of his 7 years. The company meeting took place in the second week of October. Michael arrived prepared for the worst, but found the auditorium packed with employees supporting his continued leadership. Dr. Reynolds, said Sarah, the head of human resources, on behalf of all the employees, we want to express our confidence in your leadership. This company grew because you always treated us like family, added David from the finance department. Now that we know you've found your real family, we're sure you'll be an even better leader. The vote was unanimous. Michael would remain as the company's president. The minority shareholders who had opposed him changed their minds in the face of the employees' support. But the issue with Richard still needed to be resolved. Even with all the backing, 15 million was 15 million. The solution came from where Michael least expected. Elizabeth appeared in his office the following Thursday, carrying a folder of documents. Michael, we need to talk. If you're here to convince me to give up the boys, I'm here to make amends. Michael looked up from his computer, surprised. What do you mean? I spoke with Aunt Margaret. I saw the letters, the proof. I saw how much Jennifer suffered, and how much you suffered without knowing. Elizabeth sat across from her son, her hands trembling. Michael, I made the biggest mistake of my life. Out of prejudice, out of pride, I robbed you of happiness and kept my grandchildren from knowing their father. Mum, let me finish. These are the documents for the sale of my apartment in Westchester and my shares in your father's company. $17 million. Michael was stunned. Mum, you don't have to. Yes, I do. It's the only way to make up for even part of the harm I caused. And where will you live? I bought a small apartment in the Upper East Side near you. I want to spend time with my grandchildren if you'll let me. For the first time in weeks, Michael felt like everything might work out. Mom, of course you can spend time with them, but on one condition, never try to separate our family again. Never again. I promise. With Elizabeth's money, Michael paid Richard, and there was still capital left to expand the company. Victoria tried to backtrack on the decision, but Michael made it clear that chapter was closed forever. Jennifer was discharged from the hospital in early November. She was still weak, but the doctors assured her she would fully recover with proper care. Now you're all going to live together? Ethan asked when Michael brought Jennifer home. That depends on your mother, Michael replied. Jennifer, will you marry me? Again, officially this time. She began to cry, still frail but radiant. Of course I will, I always wanted to. Are we going to have a wedding party? Noah asked. The biggest party in the world, Michael promised. The wedding took place in December, a simple ceremony on the beach in the Upper East Side, with the Triplets as ring bearers. Elizabeth cried throughout the ceremony, silently asking forgiveness for all the lost years. Now we're a real family, Jacob declared at the reception. We always were, sweetheart. It just took us a while to find each other, Jennifer replied. Mrs. Margaret, who had moved to New York City to be near the family, watched the scene with satisfaction. Jennifer always said that one day you'd meet again, she commented to Elizabeth. I almost prevented that forever, replied Elizabeth, ashamed. What matters is that you recognized the mistake and helped fix it. Months later, Michael's company was more prosperous than ever. He had implemented a family benefits policy that attracted the best professionals in the field. Daddy, why do you work less now and make more money? Asked Ethan, ever curious. Because I learned that when we take care of people, they take better care of their work, Michael explained. And when you take care of us, we're happier, added Noah. The house, once silent and cold, had become a home full of laughter, playfulness, and love. Jennifer, now fully recovered, returned to work as a teacher at a nearby school. Elizabeth proved to be a devoted grandmother, making up for lost time with constant attention to her grandchildren. She and Margaret became close friends, united by their love for the boys. Michael, Elizabeth said one Sunday afternoon, thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for giving me the chance to have my whole family. One afternoon, the triplets came into the living room with a drawing they had made together. "Daddy, Mommy, can you come here?" called Ethan. The drawing showed a big house with 7 people: Michael, Jennifer, the 3 boys, Elizabeth and Margaret, all holding hands, all smiling. "It's our family," explained Jacob. "Everyone is together," said Noah. "And no one is ever leaving again," finished Ethan. Michael and Jennifer looked at each other, their eyes filled with happy tears. "Never again," Michael promised. "This is our family forever." That night, after putting the boys to bed, Michael and Jennifer stayed talking on the porch, watching the sea of the Upper East Side. "Do you regret anything?" she asked. "Only not fighting harder to find you sooner." "But maybe it had to be this way. Maybe we needed to go through all of that to appreciate what we have now. The boys grew up strong even without me. You did an amazing job." They always had you in their hearts. Every night they asked God to watch over the daddy they didn't know. And now we're all together. Forever. 3 years later, Michael's company had become one of the largest consulting firms in New York City. He was recognized not just for his professional success, but for the humane management policies he had implemented. The triplets, now 10 years old, attended a private school near home. Ethan dreamed of being a businessman like his father. Noah wanted to be a doctor to help sick people, and Jacob hoped to be a teacher like his mother. Elizabeth had become a present and loving grandmother, taking her grandchildren on outings, helping with homework, and telling stories. Margaret, at 71, was the funniest grandmother any child could wish for. "Daddy," Ethan said one afternoon, "why do you always say we're the best kids in the world?" "Because you taught me that it doesn't matter how much money we have or how many things we own. What really matters is having the people we love close by." "And you learned that from us?" "I did. You taught me that family is more important than any business." "And we learned that a real father never abandons his children," said Noah. "Even when everything goes wrong," added Jacob. That night, like every other, the family gathered for dinner. The table was full. Michael and Jennifer, the triplets, Elizabeth and Margaret. 7 people fate had separated and brought back together in the most surprising way. "Shall we say our gratitude prayer?" Jennifer suggested. Everyone held hands around the table. "Thank you for our family being complete," said Ethan. "Thank you that no one ever gave up on us," said Noah. "Thank you for giving us a home full of love," said Jacob. "Thank you for giving me the chance to be a happy mother and wife," said Jennifer. "Thank you for teaching me it's never too late to fix our mistakes," said Elizabeth. "Thank you for this beautiful family that God allowed me to be part of," said Margaret. "Thank you for these 7 years of learning and for this family which is my greatest treasure," concluded Michael. When they finished the prayer, Ethan looked around at everyone at the table. "You know what's the most amazing thing?" "What, son?" asked Jennifer. "It all started because we were hungry, and Mrs. Maria took us in. If she hadn't been kind that day, maybe we never would have found our dad." "Maria wasn't just kind," said Michael. "She was an angel in disguise." "Where is she now?" asked Noah. "Taking care of her new home, the one we bought for her in Astoria. After all, she was part of our miracle." "Can we visit her tomorrow?" Jacob asked. "Of course. She'll be happy to see how much you've grown." And so, the family that had been torn apart by lies and pride was reunited through unconditional love and the courage of 3 little boys who never gave up on finding their father. The house that once echoed only with the silence of loneliness now buzzed with laughter, conversations, homework debates, and plans for the future. The room that had once sheltered 3 hungry, sick children was now the heart of a home where love had conquered all hardships. Michael learned that success isn't measured in millions in the bank, but in the hugs you receive at the end of the day. Jennifer discovered that patience and faith can overcome any obstacle. The triplets grew up knowing that family is the one that never gives up on you, even when all seems lost. And Elizabeth? Elizabeth learned that true love knows no social class, and that trying to keep people who love each other apart only brings suffering to everyone. The end of the story. So what did you think of this touching story? Do you believe Elizabeth was able to redeem herself after all those years of causing pain? Tell us in the comments which moment moved you the most and if you have any similar experiences to share. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories.